I'll grow a flower for you. An Adrienette Miraculous Ladybug Alternate Universe Fanfiction, Part 3. With so many new flowers, Marinette's business had really flourished. And, Adrien was honestly having the time of his life. Really, he was living his unbeknownst before dream life. His days were filled with tending to flowers, which were growing wonderfully, talking to the most wonderful woman he had ever met, and lots of croissants. Marinette had been whipping up the most delicious treats for him. They ranged from snappy, salty butter cookies to the creamiest of cheesecakes. Truly, this was the definition of heaven. So, Adrien decided to make a kind of scary but very important decision. He was going to ask Marinette out for a date. And not just in a plain way. Oh no, he was going to make it so special she would have to 100% say yes. Unless she didn't like him that way, but he tried not to think of it like that because it would make him chicken out. His plan was to press some flowers of his own, and to the best of his abilities, give them to her as a thank you gift and as a way to ask her to a date. And sure, growing his own flowers and learning how to press flowers from the internet and making sure that the meanings of the flowers matched up to what he wanted to say was kind of extra. But he liked being extra sometimes. Especially when showing affection to people he cared about. So in preparation, Adrien had to do some research. What flowers meant romance or love? As it turned out, purple roses did. He also planted tulips and forget-me-nots. He planted them towards the sides of the house where Marinette wouldn't normally go to find flowers. And that was the reason why Adrien went to collect them one day, and he was shocked to find them gone. Oh no, she had found them, Adrien said in a frenzied mutter as he rushed into the house, something that he had never done before. Adrien, Marinette said, standing up as soon as he burst through the doors. Are you okay? What happened? She asked worriedly. Adrien bit his lip nervously. Did you, pick some flowers? He asked. Marinette looked at him with a confused look. Yeah? She said, trailing off. Like tulips and forget-me-nots and stuff? He asked. A sparkle of recognition flashed through her eyes, and she snapped her fingers together. Oh yes, they were beautiful. I have a custom in for them, she smiled. Adrien couldn't control his voice. Wait, no, don't do that, he cried out, confusing Marinette deeply. Why not? She asked him. He blushed completely red. He drawled out. Marinette looked at him with wrinkled eyebrows. They were, I planted them because I had a plan for them, Adrien admitted, looking away from Marinette. She gasped. Oh, sorry. I had no idea. Here, I haven't done anything with them just yet, so I'll go grab them. I'm so sorry. I didn't know that you were going to keep them. I'll find a different arrangement for the customer. Marinette flocked over to her shelf and searched for the flowers. Adrien smiled at her softly. There were certain times that she babbled, and it was just so darn cute. No, you're okay. It's not that big of a deal, he said, calming her down. Are you sure? She asked earnestly. He nodded. They were for you, actually, he forced out. His face was burning red hot. Marinette stepped back in surprise. Me? She asked, confused. Adrien nodded sheepishly. Yeah, I wanted to press them for you. It wouldn't have looked as good as yours, but I wanted to try, he continued. A sweet smile made its way onto Marinette's face. Was she blushing too? Why? She asked. Adrien buried his face in his hands. I wanted to ask you out on a date, and I thought maybe flowers would be a good gift, he admitted. She let out a tinkling laugh, and within a second, Adrien could feel Marinette peeling the hands off his face. Adrien, she said, chuckling a bit. He made a noise and moved away from her hands, making her laugh. Eventually, she was able to pry his hands off of his face, and what greeted him was a lovely smile. You wanted to ask me out on a date? She asked. Now he could see that her face was just as red as his, if not more, though she definitely looked a lot cuter than he did. He probably had the appearance of a tomato. Yeah, she smiled at him. Quickly, Marinette floated over to the shelf and grabbed those flowers that he was supposed to press for her. Grabbing one of his hands, Marinette pressed the stems of them into his hand and closed their hands over it, making Adrien somehow blush even more. You know, even without the flowers, I would have said yes to a date, she admitted shyly. Adrien felt his entire world light up. Really? He asked incredulously. Marinette laughed a bit and nodded, biting her lip nervously. Adrien felt joy overtake him. This was actually happening. Oh my god, this was actually happening. So, he said, taking in a breath, less nervous now that he knew she'd say yes. Will you go on a date with me? Marinette kissed his cheek again. Yes, I would love to. For the rest of the day, Marinette and Adrien mostly ignored all of their original plans and duties in favor of teaching Adrien how to press flowers. And then they promptly went out to dinner together. It was fun. Yeah, it was a little awkward at times because the two of them were blushing so hard, but Adrien had fun. And it was just so happy. And he was kind of on cloud nine because, wow, he and Marinette had just gone on a date. A date! At the end of the day, Marinette did get some beautiful pressed and resin-encased flowers. Sure, there were some air bubbles and far away from perfection, but she loved them all the same, and even more than the ones that she made. They were physical shows of Adrien's affection for her. It was much more special. Months later, not only had the gardens in Marinette's shop grown, but their love had too. It was pretty late at night, and Marinette and Adrien were sitting on the porch together. And to think this all started because I needed a couple flowers. Marinette laughed, laying her head onto Adrien's shoulder. He laughed a bit too and placed an arm around her. Even 7 months later, he was in awe of the fact that they were actually dating, and that Marinette was with him, of all people. I don't know about you, but I'm pretty glad you decided to ask a stranger for flowers, he joked. Marinette hummed happily, snuggling into his side. Me too,